Yo! Welcome back, guys. Thank you so much for joining me once again. My name is Coach Sanawe Koni, and in today's session, I want to talk about tactics. Rather, people's approach to tactics. Because from what I see, it's all attack-minded, it's all one direction, it is all one concept. Once this has been said and done, you cannot go anywhere. That is the wrong approach. I want to change the cognitive. I want to change that thought process. When you hear tactics, I need you to be thinking about more than one thing. So let's get into a video where we break down the term, the objectives, and just how we go about approaching those tactics on the field. Let's go.
For me, it's all about performance.
When you first hear tactics, I'm sure many of you are just simply thinking about the core objective of everything all, which is we need to score more goals than the opposition. And that's football. That is football at the heart and at the base of it. That is football. You need to score more goals than the opposition. That is how you win. Now, there are two primary elements which affect that objective, which is your attack and your defense. So, how do you score more goals than the opposition? But at the same time, how do you make sure that the opposition do not score? And that's what we need to be thinking about when we are talking tactics. I'm tired of people just simply thinking in one direction when they are talking about tactics. It is not all-out attack. What happens when you don't have the ball? It is not all-out defense. What happens the moment you do receive the ball? These are things that you need to know and have in place and in mind so that your game can run smoothly and effectively. So if you have the idea of attack and defense as those two primary tactical objectives and you can set those up, go ahead and do that, because theory in tactics is all about space, and that space is going to influence your playing system and your playing style. Now, your playing system is the system which you use to implement that tactic. Your players and how you ask them to move around within that system setup is gonna influence the playing style that your team has as an overall. So come time to analyze a team, you need to look at the space. How do they go up the field? How do they come down on the field? How do they use space in the thirds coming across? And also something that's also not taken into consideration, the space above. So how do they make advantage of the aerial space on the field? Because you can do everything on the floor, but if a team is good in the air, you're gonna need to know and figure out how to compete in the air. And now, once you've got that, once you know exactly what happens with the opposition or even with your squad when they are moving up, down, going across the field, and what they do when they're operating in the thirds, now you need to think about possession, the biggest influence of the tactic. Talking possession, this is where the error comes in, because most people believe that the tactical objectives come in when your team has possession of the ball. This is not the case. Simply because you believe that your team has control because they are on the ball, it does not make you or give you a bigger advantage to the team that is defending. At the end of the day, if I'm a defensive-minded coach and I've got the mind to set up tactically for a phase of play which allows you to disorientate yourself in attack and allow my players with a certain style of play to attack these spaces which you have left vulnerable, I've got the upper hand. Bruce Lee said it best, be water, my friend. So adapt. You've got to know what you want to do with the ball, so you've got to set up an attacking phase of play once you've got possession. Once you are off the ball and you don't have that possession, you've got to set up a defensive phase of play, which works to your system of play, which has that influence which your players can bring in that style of play of the team. And now we come down to where the actual football happens. For me, it is the tactical risk to reward ratios. Now, don't assume that simply because your team is on possession and has the ball, that you are going towards the reward of getting a goal, or simply because you are off the ball and your team's dropping, that you are at risk of conceding. If you've got a tactic in place to support the space in which you are moving, that is where your risk to reward comes in. Meaning, if this yellow's here with the ball drops and leaves everyone, the risk is greater for them to concede simply because there is more space that is left vulnerable. So if the greens get you and they can attack, which happens in a football game very easily, there is no one to protect this space. But your risk and reward will come in based on how you utilize your space in and around you so that you can protect against anything. Risking to go for goals, not leaving too much space and vulnerability behind, so that if the case does happen when you do lose that possession and there's a turnover, a counter attack is protected against, at least in this definition, by someone in your team. So now the reward is greater than the risk being taken. But the moment I drop this player and I leave too much space behind, the risk is greater than the reward of one goal. And that is all from me today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And if you have not done it yet, please make sure that you subscribe. I was literally one away, guys, from those triple digits. One. I'm not hurt. But just to close off, make sure that next time you're thinking tactics that you're not thinking in one direction. Please think attack, defense. Have another thought for possession, on the ball, off the ball. And lastly, what is your risk to reward depending on how you want to play and press the opposition? That is all from me. I will see you again next time.